Chapter 31, The Angelica Touch by Lindsay J. Sedgwick. On the morning of Mum's first date, lunch in a garden centre, which is a good sign he's not a rapacious bug man, I take over her hair because she's all fingers and toes. Even if she refuses to pout, I want her to feel like a film star. Not that I will, but if I bring him back for coffee, she says, I mean literally coffee. No walking in and scaring him away. Me? I'd never do that. Especially not with Dylan in the wings. Actually, you did. You once told this cute French guy who was about to take me out for a meal in the most expensive restaurant in Dublin that your dad had just been released from prison. Apparently he'd been sent there for murdering one of my boyfriends. What can I say? Sorry. She hugs me and laughs, giddy. I thought it was quite inventive myself. You were only 5 or 6. You told another man I was desperate to give you a brother or a sister. Oh, sorry, again. It was pretty inspired, says Mum. He'd only just discovered his ex was pregnant. I pile her hair into a lazy bun. Okay, that's probably not the right term, but it's the sort that has tendrils of hair escaping all down around her face and neck. So the loose and flowing look, yet elegant. She says, none of them tempted me enough to be leaving you all the time. She looks like a movie star again, but it could be the flush of nervousness in her cheeks. Mind you, she says, I'd share you with the world now if it'd get me laid. Mom! Oops, did I say that aloud? She lets me do her makeup since I convinced her she needed the expert touch. Grace clued me in on her mascara techniques, and who would have known but Mum has long eyelashes. I keep it understated, with sexy red lips for contrast. This time I say, I promise I won't say a word. Even if he's gorgeous, I won't flirt with him or anything. Before she can react, I turn her around so she can see her transformation. She puts her hand to her mouth. For a moment I think she's going to cry, but she laughs instead. A light, sort of amazed laugh. See, I say, he won't even notice me. She grins and twirls for a betting. No lipstick on my teeth, tremors in my knees. Nope. Wish me luck, she says. I slip my thumb around hers. It's a thing we do sometimes. You're beautiful, and he's an exceptionally lucky man to get a date with you. Remember that. I know, I sound like her mum, but sometimes it's necessary. It's an only child thing. Then we notice Chris standing in the doorway. Did you want something, Chris, says Mum. I mean, if you can't do lunch and you need me to stay on, that would be perfectly fine. He shakes his head and finds his voice. Taxi, your taxi's here. We are go. Time for the last few nuggets. Now, don't drink too much, Mum. If you like him, he'll think you're an alco. If you don't, you might end up thinking you do, and that would be worse. We're meeting for lunch, Angelica. 1 glass of wine, max. Yeah, well, you might just click and hang out all afternoon, in which case we can cope here. I scooch her shoulder strap a millimetre further west. No harm being sexy, is there, Chris? Taxi, says Chris, his voice deeper than usual. Outside. Waiting. Remember, Mum, don't tell him where we live or anything stalkerish. And keep your phone on. Text if you want us to come and get you. And then she's gone. Guppy is dictating the text of her spiels so I can type them up on the computer. She has an idea of printing a booklet to accompany the tour or even to sell in the local shops. It's making her nostalgic. Apparently Teddy said she had a magical way of telling stories. Only their story. It hasn't a good ending. Not anywhere at all. But she still wants to dedicate it to Teddy, wherever he may be. It doesn't seem fair. Why should Guppy still be waiting to know what happened to this man? Surely she deserves the truth at last. When she goes to stick the kettle on, I slip the photo of the two of them into my pocket before she returns with homemade scones. Our chef only has decided Guppy is his new family. His English isn't great yet, and the Donegal accent baffles him entirely, so they communicate with baking. Where were we, dear? The tears of Bridget, pagan princess, I say. Ah yes, read that last bit back. There, amid the gorse and tufty grass, Bridget wept for her lover, and her tears carved an imprint of his face into the rock. Guppy picks the narrative up, and from her tears on that fateful day a waterfall sprang, so that perpetual tears would forever run down his face. The spring runs dry only during times of national sorrow. We have no idea who her lover was, but Oh, what's wrong, Angelica? You're wriggling like an elf. Elves don't wriggle. They do if they want to be somewhere else. Are you worried about your mum? I wasn't till you mentioned it. Why are adults so good at making us worry about stuff we weren't worrying about until they asked? I just remembered I'd meet Guppy in town, Grace in town. We have a school project. Homework. It's a fail-safe excuse for almost anything when it comes to adults. Insert in defense of flowering weeds. Flower centres filled with overgrown, over-needy, real plants. What's so wrong with weeds? Daisies, dandelions, buttercups are beautiful flowers. What have they done to us that we feel entitled to behead them, pull them from the ground, or drown them with weed killer? Example, you can't make flower chains from roses, but you infinitely can from daisies. The dandelion can give you tea and cure your warts. Can geraniums do that? Dandelions sit behind your ear neatly because the stem is sort of hollow, easy to bend without breaking, and has no thorns. What other plant in the world can unite us all in the love of butter like the buttercup, regardless of whether we like butter or not? Also, weeds grow abundantly without tending. They're colourful, unpretentious. If we lived in Africa and found a dandelion growing, it would be a priceless bloom. So, Mr. Inventor of Weed Killer, did you sleep well, or did weeds swallow your grave when you died? Simon's cafe is empty for the first time in days, so when he nips out to the wholesalers, I turn the sign to close and scan Teddy's photograph into the computer. I start the search in Canada because that is where they were going to live, and put in everything I know. Edward Joshua Banagher, born circa 1940, American Army, brown eyes. He's a bit old for your mum. Where does Grace creep from? It's not for mum, and how did you get in? You should put the lock on sign. You should put the lock on when you do the closed sign. Sorry. Tell me it's not your dad. I shake my head. No, it's Guppy's man. I show her the photo taken by the oak tree on the front lawn. She said she could hardly keep her eyes off him. Guppy? Ugh. Why are people so easily horrified that elderly people talk about sex? I hope she had lots and lots, because she sure as hell hasn't had much for the last 46 years. How did you get her to agree that you could trace him, says Grace. I didn't. Before she can tick me off about interfering, I didn't want to get her hopes up in case he's dead or something. What, have you made it all up? She says. Mum talked to this woman after Grandad died. He swore she was the love of his life, separated by religion and politics, but they'd never even spoken. I take the photo back and study Teddy's face. He gazes at Guppy in a way that seems open and honest and deeply in love. I have a good feeling about this, I say. If he's still alive, he will want to see her again. You're forgetting something, says Grace. He's 46 years late. I arrive at the hotel before Mum. Chris is manning the desk and looks up as I come in, so I know he's waiting for her too. Minutes later she arrives and mutters something to Grace about freshening up before she takes over and heads upstairs. This can't be good. I follow her up. Carl's real name is Pruntius, she says, passing me a photo of an idyllic paddock with a bath in the middle. This is his business idea, mud baths, the alternative way to make a living off the farm. On the site, Carl said he was an entrepreneur, not a farmer. I feel misled. I don't want to live on a farm. Doesn't Ireland have enough indoor spas? Smiling in a way I instantly distrust, Mum hands me a small styrofoam tub. Pruntius has a secret ingredient none of the others use. I get a sixth sense I should ask before I remove the lid. Curiosity is such a bad genetic trait, a really foul one. So is the smell from the tub. Manure. Apparently dairy cows make fragrant poo that is an excellent exfoliant and makes your skin glow. Sorry, I say. He didn't seem weird. I'm tempted to leave this tub in the bathroom for a grumpy guest, with the label saying luxury face pack. Oh, don't look so serious, Angel. At least I didn't waste my best fella on the first attempt, right? Plenty more fish, and they say sailors make great lovers. Oh, Mum! She only does it to shock me. Sorry, I meant whales. Heaps of whales. Kitty lands in with a flurry of fresh air in her wake. Well? Like Grace, she has a habit of popping up silently. Must be genetic. How did it go? Put it this way, Kitty. I'm going to try and get to know the next guy better before I meet him. No, I wouldn't bother, says Kate. Kitty. You'll either like him or you won't. It's 90% visual and vocal eye contact and kindness and gifts. Gifts are good. But if there's none of that when you meet, at least you won't have waited months writing little love notes and exchanging poetry. I'm with Kitty, says I. Dive in. What the hell? Language, says Guppy, arriving up for no good reason at all except the sniff of drama, and to ask me to help her look for a picture she's lost. When we reach Guppy's apartment, I slip the photo of Teddy out of my bag when she's in the loo. It was behind the dresser, I shout through the closed door and head back into town. At least Mum's not upset that our first date was a complete disaster. And she did say next time. The minute I land into Simon's, Grace clicks onto the homepage. If I didn't know better, I'd say she was, hiding something? But I haven't time to think about it now. I fill her in as I search for Mum's next date. What about this one? Grace leans over my shoulder. Lyndon? Sounds like a machine for polishing floors or hoovering cat hairs out of long-haired rugs. At least it's original. And it's only a pseudonym, remember? His real name's probably Bartholomew. Listen to this. Most romantic thing, a bathtub filled with essential oils and rose petals, 1 petal for each year of my mother's life. Okay, so I prefer a man in his late 30s not to be talking about his mother in the same sentence as his washing arrangements. But he's the best newbie on the site. Why would anyone pick Lyndon for a name, says Grace. Why not Coleman or Leo or Johnny or something? They say you can predict how a man will treat the woman in his life by how he treats his mother, I say. I read it somewhere, so it must be true. Psycho comes to mind, says Grace. I slip Lyndon into Mum's inbox with a couple of obvious duds so she goes in the right direction. Grace tuts disapprovingly and lands a little thump on my arm to remind me that she means it. To be continued.